TGT aims to amplify the voices of young women as peace builders, to foster dialogue and learning among diverse audiences, and to contribute to the global movement for peace. My name is Bekezela with the Girls Table podcast, where we talk about issues that affect young women. Namhlanje itopic yami ithi yona young women's activism for peace, and I am joined by Chelesani Ndlovu ukuthi sizwisise indaba ye young women's activism for peace. Welcome Chelesani. Mhlawumbe umbuzo wami uqala ngokuthi how can young women effectively mobilize for peace in their communities?
I think one of the most important things that we need to acknowledge is that women are very key in most of the societal issues that we go through. We have so many congregations that we get to witness at community level. We have Uzbute, an association responsible for funerals and burials at community level. We have nutritional gardens. Women are also present there. We have neighborhood watch. Women are present in those conversations again. We have church level congregations where women are attending religious spaces. So these are spaces where women are playing a very pivotal role in terms of decision making or in terms of key discussions that have to do with day-to-day living. I think if women would start realizing that they have access to these spaces, they will notice that those spaces are spaces that they can start utilizing in terms of conversations that have to do with peace, in terms of conversations that have to do with activism and conflict resolution. There is one controversial issue that most people would say, no, we don't do that, but women are known for gossiping. When you want to know who's being beaten by their husband, who's getting cheated on, who's cheating on someone, who is doing APC and D at community level, ask women. They will tell you the woman at the corner is doing this and that. Those are spaces where women are disseminating information, but they're disseminating useless information. If we had women that will start noticing that the power of the dissemination of information that they're doing at community level can be channeled towards effective and beneficial conversations, we would have a lot of change. These are spaces where women can start utilizing their voice and start sharing information that can be key. So you see, when you have women attending community meetings, they are given platforms to speak. When we start training women on activism, when we start training women on negotiation and peace, these are platforms where they get to communicate and share the information that they have. So we have these spaces that have brought the young people, the young boys, the young girls, the grown men and the grown women. And these are community people that are going through conflicts, that are going through issues at household level. So women should start utilizing those spaces and be part of effective change. Other than us hearing ukuthi umazibani uqhele uyenze so or uqhele did this and that, can we hear women saying how uqhele was beaten by the husband? Do you know ukuthi uSithabile last week was beaten by uNcube? Sisukumile as women sahamba saya resolve conflict yabo, saqeda lapho sahamba emapholiseni bayaphiwa counseling, kumbe usazibani waphiwa warning. Those are platforms where you hear issues of GPV. And if women would start utilizing those to share meaningful things that benefit everyone at society level, I think we can have the most effective mobilization, because they don't even need to start keep on a paper and say, come for a meeting and we'll teach you about activism. No, it's within those platforms that they need to start channeling and becoming the mouthpiece of effective change.
For a clear response, Chelesani, what are the notable examples of young women's peace activism throughout history, maybe in Zimbabwe and outside Zimbabwe?
We've been very lucky, I think, as the younger generation, to get to witness a lot of amazing women that have championed activism and shown us the way of how we can be part of conversations or part of hard conversations at society level or even at national level. I think one thing that I appreciate the most is how we have seen both the good and the bad sides and the things that people have had to sacrifice for. So for one, I think we'll start with Umbuya Nehanda, and there's controversy in terms of how people would then take that based on different reasons. But she's one of the first women that we see from the era of war and liberation, fighting to find a solution where a black child is empowered. And I think she's a great example when we speak about women that actively work towards positive change for their communities. And that's the first example, Engilayo, of women who contribute towards painting our history to be beautiful. And then the second person, Esengabalai, is women that contributed towards the quota system. When we speak about politics in Zimbabwe, we have had young girls getting the opportunity to get into law, to get into university with lower points, lower than their male counterparts. But some of them don't understand that that's a movement that women had to go through to ensure that women can get empowerment. And most of them are unaware that this was a conflict or that this was an issue that was tabled for a very long time until it passed and women were given that opportunity. We have also the seats that were reserved at parliament level, and those are from movements from the Woza Women and other organizations that were actively working on that. We've seen Oma Kodonga, we've seen Obocheni Williams, women that would march the streets of Zimbabwe and say we need empowerment, we need equal representation, we need women to be heard. So those are women that you can really have in history and say these are women that actively spoke about political issues that affect women on a day-to-day basis. And then the other women that you get to see, my Grace, the former First Lady of Zimbabwe. She's one woman who was so passionate about kids. And you remember that when the age of consent and other issues came up, reduced to an absurd age. And we had many people crying and saying these kids are too young to be allowed to be getting married, to be consenting to anything. They haven't developed. And you find she pushed it higher to protect the girl child. So those are women that also participate in societal conversations. And then we have this group of women that's not from Zimbabwe, the Kulapi gang. This was a group of women that started taking the law into their hands. These are women not necessarily taking the law into their hands. You find that GBV, sexual harassment, sexual crimes were increasing in the country of India, and an association of women rose and started making sure that perpetrators were brought to book. These are women that would actively look for situations where women are being abused and women are going through the most, and they started looking for solutions. You find that they not only solved most of these issues, but they pushed the government to try and put policies in place to protect women that are going through GBV, women that are getting raped, women that have acid being poured on them for religious reasons or other reasons, women that are being killed for no reason by family members. So when you have women that actively work into spaces and they try to start those conversations, because no one has a right to ban another person, no matter what the reasons are. And there was need for the protection of the girl child. Those are groups that you then start to see actively working towards resolving conflicts. We have another group, I'm no longer sure whether it's Ghana, of women that were speaking into land and property ownership. So you find that culturally women could not own land in that country and women could not buy land. So they actively worked into tabling their grievances towards allowing women to own their land. We have widows, we have women that never get married, we have women that want to buy land, but when systems make it difficult for women to get that land, it becomes a problem. I think even in Zimbabwe, we still have the situation in a layer at community level where you find that in Makaya, the chief would not give land to a woman. or in other areas, women can't be given land. Though there are reasons towards that have to do with cultural issues, that have to do with identity, that have to do with ownership. So that country tabled that, and women were now allowed to own land, to own pieces of land. And I hope one day we'll get to see women at Zim level really speak about the issues of land and ownership. And then another person that's a bit controversial also is Mahere, Bafokeng Mahere. She's been one of the lawyers that really speaks about rights and democracy, and I think she will get to be one of the people that we'll see in history going down as a woman that really stood out for what is true to her, and really speaking for people that are vulnerable and marginalized. And then we have Priscilla Misiairambwe, the woman that was very vocal at Parliament and who would speak about the girl child, speak about education. You find that every Wednesday at Parliament, she would stand up and have very, very important issues discussed to say, we think that we have not been dealing with the situation and we need a solution to it. Those are women that have ignored how systems can silence women, or how systems can really make it difficult for women to bring out issues that affect them, and she'll speak out.
Kakhulu for the notable examples ngiyakuzwa ukhuluma ngoMai Mugabe, ukhuluma ngabo advocate Mahere and other people who are outside the country, ukhuluma ngomsebenzi abawenzileyo to push activism for peace. Maybe what are the impacts of young women's peace activism on policy and decision making?
Women need to understand that it's not that politics is excluding women deliberately. It's not that community leaders are excluding women deliberately. It's because there's no woman that has stepped into those spaces and said, have you tried to notice that women that you're deeming as Omazakela, women that you're deeming as Omabuye Gwendeni, also need land to build homes for their kids? Because Usebu Ilumuntu from Emendwenwaki because marriage fell. What happens? Does he go and stay at home, or you can give them land so that they can build for their children and create a legacy for their kids? Those are conversations that most women choose to ignore because they're in happy marriages and they're okay. But when you have people that then say, did you notice this marginalized group that's not represented right now? Did you notice that we have girls? We are in Shona, they're called Mandara. Other churches called them Inchudula, women that have gone for a very long time, they're now older, so young adults. At community level, we have to try that sister, Mama Luana Sekulili, and they are branded. And when you have communities that really don't prioritize those people, those women will be excluded from key issues and key policy issues. So when we have advocates that understand the struggles of the vulnerable and the marginalized group at community level, their voices will be heard. They become the mouthpiece of individuals that are unable to stand up and speak for themselves. Because we're speaking about women that might be poor at community level, women that might be struggling, women that might be discriminated. And it becomes the responsibility of the activists within our communities to start representing the opinions of the minorities. And that is one important issue that we are able to solve as activists at community level. So when women start participating in these key conversations, they become part of the change. They ensure the representation of minorities. They ensure the representation of issues that are not considered to be of priority at community level. And women need to start understanding those things, that they are very important, and there's a need for them to start participating in those conversations. For example, currently we have a census that's being done, an economic census in Matabele North, that's trying to find out the number of business people that we have, entrepreneurs, economic status of the region. You will find that most women would not be found within those spaces. And when you identify those things, what do you do as an activist? Do you speak out on that, or just say, no, the data that I collected shows this? So it's within those spaces when you then start saying, we have identified this gap, and we think it is of importance for us to ensure that we deal with it before anything else, because it's much more important. And when activists try and establish themselves within those conversations, we will have the best societies that we can have, the best peaceful communities that life can give us. So it's a responsibility we know to each and every woman to understand that we don't only exist to look pretty, to walk around and be called wives, to walk around and be called girlfriends, but we also have a social responsibility in ensuring that society is comfortable for every girl and every woman. The same privilege and fun that you are experiencing as a woman that is happy and privileged should be the same enjoyment that another woman should be getting. People call it the enjoyment stuff, and those are the most important issues at community level.
So much Chelesani for making time ukuthi ube ingxenye ye-podcast yethu on young men's activism for peace from the girls table. Siyabonga kakhulu, and thank you so much to the audience, to the people that keep supporting our work every day. Please don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Don't just follow, but please like and comment. Go to YouTube, please do subscribe. Until next time from the girls table, njengoba besengitshilo, ku Twitter is table_girls, ku Facebook the girls table, ku Instagram the.girls table, ku YouTube hambuye ukuthi the girls table. Zabona our talk shows, our podcast. Please do subscribe and like our content. Until next time, ngiyabonga from your favorite host Bekezela. Thank you so much.